Joe Budden replaces Ice with Marc Lamont Hill, and the fans are happy that he's gone. That's right, y'all. On the last episode of the Joe Budden podcast, Ice was asked to take a day off, and Marc Lamont Hill was put right in his position. Now, a lot of people might be saying, Danny, this is no big deal. This is part of the plan. But I think it reveals a lot about what's going on at the show. For one, Ice would be the first person Joe Budden tells to stay home in order for Marc Lamont Hill to join the podcast, the first episode. Also, Wednesday, it's the prime time version of the pod. Joe has said it countless times before. The Wednesday pod is the important one. It's the drive time version of the show. And another part of this is when you replace someone, the fans can start to say, hey man, I like this version of the show way better. And that's exactly what happened on Reddit, with multiple fans getting upvotes because they were saying, oh man, I love the pod without Ice. And this goes to demonstrate what I've been saying for the better part of 3 years. Ice was never good. People just set the bar so low that he seemed better than he actually was. But a lot happened this episode, and we got to see some things that might be on the horizon. For one, Marc Lamont Hill actually was a little bit more educated than other members of the show in talking about the election, Trump and whatnot. Him and Ish haven't gotten a standoff yet, but there was some verbal tennis back and forth, and we're going to have to see how that plays out. I also noticed that Marc Lamont Hill is indeed a panderer, as evidenced by how he would always rush to Melissa Ford's defense. I truly do wonder if he will ever disagree with Melissa Ford. On top of this, another way Marc Lamont illustrated the way he panders was when he got into his strip club bag. Now, a lot of people think pandering only refers to how he panders for women. No, he's pandering to the room. He's talking about, oh, I was in a strip club, I threw 10,000. What does he say? I threw 10,000. Damn, CUNY professor. I thought you was, doing college classes. You was going to them strip clubs and throwing stacks on your students. That's a little bit insane. And also, Flip had to find a way to disagree with Marc Lamont Hill, but he kind of struggled. There was a few spots where it seemed like he just couldn't really hold it down. What Flip does is he raises his volume. He raises his voice. And when you got him in a corner, all he does is get, more belligerent and angry. That's kind of his bag. But we will see how that unfolds. Melissa Ford's energy was completely up as she finally has a buddy to go to war with. And you could just tell she's really happy. She's excited. But a lot remains to be seen, because Ice being the first person replaced says a lot, y'all. To me, it illustrates that Joe felt like he couldn't go to Ish with that first. He couldn't go to Flip with that first. And this is the danger of when you're trying different casts, because you guys may very well say, oh, Danny, he just wants different versions of the show. Well, what I do know is that the Wednesday version of the pod is the primetime version of the pod, and every other version of it is the B-sides. So if you only appearing on the Saturday pod, that to me illustrates, Joe doesn't really think you the sauce. Joe doesn't really think you got the motion. Joe doesn't really think that you're the one bringing eyes to it. Like Flip and Ish, they got to be on that Wednesday pod. They big parts of the show. Melissa Ford as well, even though I don't think she does the best all the time. But Ice, you could miss a couple Wednesdays. We don't really need you around. Imani, you know what? Come through Saturday. Matter of fact, come through Wednesday, and after the show is done, do a Patreon episode. But I don't know about the main pod, my brother. J1, I love your dad, but stay off the Wednesday pod. Just do the Patreon version of the Wednesday pod. So I see things happening, and I did like Marc Lamont Hill. I believe I gotta be honest, I'm not saying it was the best pod ever, but as I was listening to it, I was like, oh wow, these 2 hours and 3 hours went by fast. I didn't know. By the time I looked down at my phone, I was like, oh, this pod's about to end. And it had just been a long time since I felt that way about the pod. It used to drag so much. It used to be like, why was it this long? It's not even good enough for the pod to be this long. It used to be like 4-hour episodes. And them talking about, oh, I went to the strip club and I'm so much richer than the people that used to not buy my album. And it was pretty good. But we'll see how that goes. I'm excited to see if they build on this momentum. But remember, there's several versions of the pod. But I think in order to study the pod at its peak optimum levels, you have to watch the Wednesday version. Not necessarily the Saturday version. The Wednesday version is the one that Joe sets his sights on. But let me know what you think. Did you like Marc Lamont Hill on the pod? Did you feel better with Ice at home? Ice is going to come back, obviously. I mean, this is the reason you have a guy like Ice around. He's the employee you can try new things with because the other employees might take it to heart. Now Joe can be like, hey, I told Ice to stay home. He took it on the chin. What's your problem, Ish? What's your problem, Flip? Why y'all being divas? That's why you need a company, man. And I just wanted to end this video by saying, oh my God, Improper Improv finally has a date, y'all. End of October, and I noticed it's starting at 2 p.m. I'm telling y'all, this joint better be good. And I'm curious to see who's on the show. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't be shocked if Shampoo's on the show. Let's wake it up. I know I just did Stop the King with Shampoo, and they seemed like they were at odds, Shampoo and Flip. But it's clear Flip has some type of, connection with Shampoo. I don't know what it is. I know Flip said he was a big fan of Howard Stern. He was a big fan of Star. So maybe he wants to continue to put him in this position to shine on his show while he reaps the benefits. And he does want the show to succeed. People love Shammy. He can go viral at the drop of a dime. But Shammy did say that him and Flip would never do a show again. But the ball's in his court. I mean, everybody loves to be on big platforms, especially Shampoo, right? He was on Howard Stern. He was on Star. He was on Flip the Network. He was on the Joe Budden show. He was on the Stop. Just kidding. But he was on a bunch of platforms. And that's kind of, there's a certain type, like those people from back in the day, for them, a big part of it is being on something that's pre-made. They don't like to build something. I'm not saying this is necessarily the case with Shammy. I just think he wants to be on a platform where his voice is spread throughout the land. And what better place than Flip the Network? But we're going to see. I know Shammy has a relationship with Dupreme, who Flip hates. But I'm going to be watching the premiere of Improper Improv just to see. I'm not gonna be donating no more. I don't like nobody. I gotta stop. They ain't respect. All right, y'all. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter to Stop TV. Let me know what you think about Ice being the first person replaced by Marc Lamont Hill, and what you think about the return of Improper Improv. This is Danny from the Stop. Peace.